If I'm a divorced female due to his infidelity, can I not remarry? And to be honest, this is a complicated situation because you're already divorced. So I'll be doing a response to those who are still married or in a complicated situation and those who are divorced. Now, according to the law, you can get remarried. Matthew chapter 5, verse 32. But I say to you that whoever divorces his wife for any reason except sexual immorality causes her to commit adultery. And whoever marries a woman who is divorced commits adultery. So, a simple answer to your question is yes, you can get remarried, but it is more complicated than that. Because we are Christians, the Lord holds us to a higher standard. And one of the reasons why the enemy attacks Christian marriages basically is to get people to act out in the flesh. And then he can bring this against you as accusation to hinder you from entry into heaven. That's his main goal. The situationship is just noise, okay? To see if you walk in the spirit or be in the flesh. What will be the enemy's accusation against you? 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 4 to 7. Love suffers long and is kind. Love does not envy, does not parade itself, is not puffed up, does not behave rudely, does not seek its own, is not provoked, thinks no evil, does not rejoice in iniquity, but rejoices in the truth, bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things. So the Lord is expecting you to be in love, to act in love towards your partner. And love is patient. You have to be patient with your partner. Love is kind. Love suffers long. One of the major things that will hinder people will be they never acted in love. And that is where the enemy attacks to ensure that you act in the flesh. You act out in the flesh, act out in pride, and it ends up in divorce. This will be the accusation against a lot of people in their marriages. You must understand that divorce is like amputation, and any doctor will tell you that amputation is usually the last option when everything else has failed. When you tried all your possible best, yet there's no progress. Only then can you divorce. Remember the marriage vows: for better or worse, in sickness or health, till death do us part. So your vows were between you two, which has become one, and God. And the Lord will ask you as Christians why you never showed love, why you never endured, why you never prayed for your spouse to get better, to change from their ways, why you never, interceded. So divorce is the last option. Romans chapter 7, verse 1 to 3. Or do you not know, brethren, for I speak to those who know the law, that the law has dominion over a man as long as he lives. Now, this here is talking about the law of sin and death, but it's also related to marriages. For the woman who has a husband is bound by the law to her husband as long as he lives. But if the husband dies, she is released from the law of her husband. So then, if while her husband lives, she marries another man, she will be called an adulteress. But if her husband dies, she is free from that law, so that she is no adulteress, though she has married another man. So like I said, this is complicated because the covenant you made before God was for better or worse, in sickness or health, till death do us part. So according to Romans chapter 7, verse 1 to 3, here you can see that a woman is bound to her husband till death as Christians. Okay? By law, Matthew chapter 5, verse 32, you are allowed to remarry because he committed immorality. But remember, the enemy, this is why the enemy attacks marriages, because there are so many, snares that can be used as allegations against a person. So Romans chapter 7 here tells us that except the husband is dead, the woman is not released from her husband. Okay, she becomes an adulteress if she marries another. 80% of people who got divorced regret months after leaving their spouse. Because at the heat of the moment, where there was tension, the enemy planted seeds of amputation, seeds of walking in the flesh, seeds of pride, and this usually leads to divorce. And once he has accomplished that, the next snare is remarriage. Now, before you rush and get remarried, which is the hook of the enemy, you must ask yourself, did I do everything right? Did I try every possibility to make my marriage work before going for the option of amputation? Did I show love? Did I show mercy? Did I pray for my partner? Did I endure enough? Or with all my efforts, still there was no progress? Then you know your conscience is clear, you plead for mercy, and you can move forward with getting married. In some cases, it is even advisable to remain single to avoid any snare of the enemy. If every woman whose husband cheated decided to get a divorce, there will be very few marriages standing today. But they endured, they prayed about it, and the Lord showed them mercy. You must understand that some of these things are simply the attacks of the enemy. It is your duty as the wife to, by prayer, redirect the mind of your husband. Keep in mind that all such situations are just distractions from the enemy to cause a permanent damage against the destiny of the family and the marriage. 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 10 to 11. Now to the married I command, yet not I, but the Lord. A wife is not to depart from her husband. But even if she does depart, let her remain unmarried or be reconciled to her husband. And a husband is not to divorce his wife. So in conclusion, according to the law, you are allowed to remarry. But if you're unsure that, the choices you made were completely correct, then it is preferable to remain unmarried and seek the Lord. But if you're getting remarried, ensure that you're in the right place. Otherwise, it becomes a snare, double snare. Okay, because all these verses I've read for you will be used to judge or as an accusation against you by the enemy. Because at the end, the Lord expects if you both are believers, then there should be reconciliation, there should be love, there should be forgiveness, there should be unity. Remember, at the end of it all, whatever we do here on earth, the point is to be found faultless before God.